Crossbreeding hasn't been accepted as well in Australia as in other parts of the world. It must be assumed, therefore, that crossbreeding introduces some challenges that are not there with straight breeding. In this section, Bob Freer gives us the benefit of his experience working across Australia in cattle breeding situations for a number of years.
Crossbreeding, if it's done properly and aiming to get the benefits that we hear about, is a little bit more complicated than pure breeding. That's because we're using generally several breeds, so we get management issues that arise from that. One of the big bogeys in time gone by has been the issue of replacement females. If you're really going for broke with a crossbreeding program, you're looking to use first cross females in a terminal situation, and those females have to come from somewhere. So you either have to breed them yourself then got a separate breeding program to breed first cross females, and that dilutes the overall benefit of your crossbreeding program a little bit. In the past, people have just relied on being able to buy those crossbred females, but that's a bit of a lucky dip really, because you're at the mercy of the people who bred them, and you don't necessarily know the genetic background of those replacements. And more today we see people entering into contracts with another herd to breed their first cross females, generally out of the older end of their cow herd, and that way you can have more control on the genetics, and a bit of a win-win situation really.
Are there any risks we need to be aware of?
There's always risks when, I guess, you're pushing performance, and if you're using large terminal sires in a crossbreeding program on maiden heifers, well, high growth equals high birth weight, so you need to be a little bit cautious there. It's a risk that can be easily managed just by using sires that are known for easy calving. Just be a little bit careful how you join for the first calf. Once that first calf is out of the road, well, then you're pretty much open and go from there.
And these benefits, do they all come cost-free, or are there some additional costs? For instance, do some crossbred cattle have a higher intake, therefore cost more?
Well, generally you find high performance, anything requires high performance inputs, and cattle are no different to that. Depends a little bit on the situation where you are. If you're breeding for harsh environments, then the input, the genetic traits there are a little bit different to if you're breeding for maximum performance in a temperate area. Certainly if you're at first cross cows that got increased body weight and increased milk production capacity, whatever, those animals need to be fed properly, and if you don't, you won't exploit the advantages that you've built into your crossbreeding program. Been quite a few trials that have shown that yes, these crossbred cows eat more, but those trials have also shown that they still outproduce purebred counterparts when it comes to beef produced per cow join per hectare.
Should that increased appetite in crossbreeds be something that people should be taking into consideration in their crossbreeding programs?
Generally, people find that when the crossbreeding program is going full bore and you've got all your genetics in place, that you may have to carry a few less cows than you did before to compensate for that extra appetite, but the reward will still be on the right side of the ledger.
Bill, what are the major traps in your opinion?
The major traps are not having a plan, and I guess we have seen lots of people go into crossbreeding 25 years ago in this northern coastal part of New South Wales and came unstuck big time, and I think if you look back now they probably didn't have a plan as to where they were going to go to in 10 years time. It was all okay in the early phases, but they came unstuck when they got down the track a little bit and found that they didn't really have the right females coming along and things like that. So I think the secret to success in crossbreeding is having a plan, being really market focused, and then choosing the breeds to go into that crossbreeding program really carefully to make sure that you deliver A, on that market that you're targeting, and B, you've sorted out where the next generation of females are going to come from.
There are some more complex crossbreeding programs around. With these complex ones, are they any more advantageous in terms of economics?
Yeah, look, I guess if we look at the rotational program for a moment, with a two-breed rotational program, you're retaining a reasonable amount of the hybrid vigour, which is the sort of the real driver. But if you multiply the number of breeds out from 2 to 3 or to 4, then you're in a situation where you capture and retain more of the hybrid vigour. So it becomes a trade-off then between the ability to manage a complex program where instead of having just say 2 breeding groups with different bull breeds in them, you might have 3 or 4. So it becomes a trade-off between that extra hybrid vigour, an extra say weight of calf per cow that you run versus the ability to manage it and make it work. And the thing about successful crossbreeding programs, are the ones that work. And we've seen lots of programs that start out with big expectations, but the bar is set a bit too high, and they come unstuck and give crossbreeding a bad name in a way because of the complexity of them and the difficulty making them work.